decided to participate in the toy design section of FED. The requirements of the toy are as follows. Its dimensions must fit within a 4 by 4 by 4 foot cube. It must pass a 3-foot drop test and shake test, aka it must be durable. It must be safe for children, and it must either be educational or accommodate a physical or mental disability. Based on these parameters, we chose to create a toy to comfort autistic children.
Autism is a general term for a group of complex disorders of brain development. Each individual is affected differently with varying degrees of abilities, including social skills, repetitive behaviors, verbal and nonverbal communication. Children are commonly treated through a method known as applied behavior analysis, or ABA. ABA has been scientifically proven to be highly successful in training kids out of their autistic behaviors. However, this definition of success completely ignores the child's emotional welfare. Children subjected to ABA treatment can experience PTSD as a result of the negative feedback they receive when they continue their autistic mannerisms during a therapy session. The harm to the child's mental and emotional well-being severely inhibits their development and can cause more harm in later life.
Caspi's design is based around the act of self-stimulation, or stimming. This is essentially the fidgeting commonly associated with autistic children. This fidgeting provides sensory input to the individual, which can be calming, helpful for focusing, or an expression of emotion. In order to decide exactly which features would be best, a post was published on Tumblr asking the adult autistic community to contribute their experiences and preferences. The post received hundreds of responses, and the most common ideas were included. These are something chewable, the ears, something soft, the fur, varying textures, the toes, eyes, and nose, gentle auditory input, the sound box, and pressure, her weight. The stuffed animal shape was decided to both make her easily accessible and portable, as well as to associate her with the comfort of pets.
The building process took approximately 12 full hours of hand sewing. Caspi began with the raw materials of fur, fleece, pouch-lining fabrics, fiberfill stuffing, stuffing beads, silicone cupcake molds, sponges, and plastic face pieces. All sewing was done using a backstitch, which is about as strong as a sewing machine stitch. Several versions of the head and snout shapes were tried before deciding on a simple 4-section shape. From there, the measurements on the original design were followed to shape each section of the toy.
Though reviews of Caspi were generally positive, there were a few changes to be made. Per the teacher's recommendation, the zipper which closed the soundbox pouch on Caspi's stomach was replaced with Velcro for the safety of the children. By request from the students, more filler beads were added to increase her weight for additional pressure. The most important change was a modification to her soundbox. Due to the confusing configuration of the buttons on the box, the play button was hot glued to the front of the box in order to simplify activating her sound feature. Minor fixes were also made to a loose piece of fabric on her ear.
Testing happened in 2 stages, material testing and design testing. Before the toy could be constructed, the materials in use needed to be tested for safety and durability. An extra piece of silicone from the cupcake molds was tested to make sure it could be bitten and ripped without losing pieces or denting. The fur fabric for the majority of the toy was tested for waterproofing by being placed over a cup filled with water. Both of these tests were successful, allowing construction to move forward. After completion, Caspi was sent to the local York Elementary School, where students from 2 special education classes had the chance to play with her. She was returned after a week with comments from the teachers and students.
One of the biggest design challenges was in the creation and anchoring of the ears. We initially wanted to design a mold for a custom ear shape and pour on liquid silicone. However, liquid silicone was impossible to find and did not fit in our budget. We settled on using silicone cupcake molds and cutting them half instead. The ears were anchored by simply sewing the silicone to the head of Caspi.
Our project scored the highest in the afternoon session of FED for toy design with a score of 105. Throughout the session, attendees seemed genuinely intrigued and pleased with our research about autism and our creative solution. The judges also seemed pleased and provided a few suggestions along with their many compliments.
One thing our group would change is using a sewing machine instead of hand sewing the whole project. It was very time-consuming to hand sew, and a lot of energy was put into the creation of Caspi. Another change we would make is picking a different material for the ears, because they turned out very rounded and did not appear as cat-like as we had hoped. Several people at FED asked us if Caspi was a polar bear or dog. Ideally, we would have poured our own ears with liquid silicone and been able to shape the ears in a mold.
Here's a few tips we have for incoming freshmen in their FED projects. Pick the project that makes you excited. The project's likely going to feel like a giant homework assignment if you're not interested in what you're doing. Start early. This isn't a regular class project that you can knock out within the last week and expect to get anywhere. You need to coordinate with your members and get things done at a reasonable pace, because many more challenges will arise and will require that much more time to overcome.
Learn to love your group. There are groups that don't work well together, complaining about each other as much as they actually work. This significantly hinders how much work the group as a whole can get done, and ultimately, the quality of the final project suffers.
Choose your groups based on the project you want to do. If everyone has a common interest in the project, the group will have a better idea of what they're doing, be more motivated, and more willing to work with each other on it. Communicate. Make sure to relay your ideas, significant information, and potential changes in the project to everyone in the group. Everyone needs to understand each other's contributions, or else group members may unexpectedly change parts of the project that others have worked on, possibly making them worse.
Have a backup plan. Some challenges that come up might cause your group to have to rethink entire aspects of your project. It's always important to have a contingency plan. Otherwise, your project won't be as great as it could have been.
Try to assign group member roles based on individual strengths. Don't assign the person who only talks 5% of the time and rarely communicates to members to be in charge of keeping everyone on track. You've got a pretty good idea of how that's going to go. And finally, contribute the best way you can. Work with your strengths and whatever you have to do for the group.